This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Sins of the Father, Part 5. Child, when we left off, I was trying to tell y'all how it came to be that Donovan had been missing for 2 whole weeks, and nobody knew exactly where he was. Now, they knew who he was with because 2 weeks earlier, Jeff had shown Maribel a video of Donovan getting brain from Portia while blindfolded and tied up, which makes 0 sense because the last time we heard anything from Donovan, he had Portia at gunpoint at the mom and pop restaurant. He had turned the tables on her, or so we thought. So how he wound up tied up, blindfolded, and getting fellatio has yet to be revealed. What we do know is that about 30 minutes later, Maribel pulled up at Jeff's house. But 30 minutes before that, Marley informed the Queen Mother that Donovan's necklace had stopped communicating and his cell phone was powered off. So at the same time that Maribel was pulling up at Jeff's, the General, Stacks, and his team had pulled up at the location where Donovan's necklace had last been. They discovered it, his cell phone, and the rental car that he was driving down the street and around the corner from the mom and pop restaurant where he met Portia. And neither Donovan nor Portia were anywhere to be found. And it took almost an hour for the team that Manny sent to find the children to get to Jeff's house. They had no idea that that's where they were. They just went to the location where Michael's cell phone had pinged last. And Jeff's house was on the outskirts of Miami, in Deerfield Beach. When they got there, they found a rental car ducked off on the side of the road, a little ways away from a house, where 3 vehicles, including the car that Portia was driving, were parked, and the vehicle that Maribel was seen driving on dock surveillance footage. Lorenzo discovered the duplicate reservation when he hacked into the rental car company, so the family now knew that the vehicle parked on the side of the road was the same one that the children were seen driving on the surveillance footage when Lorenzo hacked it. So they now knew for sure that the children followed Maribel, and how they did so. When the soldiers who were surveilling the house asked Manny what they should do, Manny told them to find all of the cameras on the property and stay out of their line of sight, not to take any action unless they had to. The Queen Mother said, I can't imagine that those children, as smart as they are going to put themselves in the line of fire. At the same time, they're children. Manny said, exactly. That's why I'm telling the men to hold off. We need to get there and be on the scene just in case. When the Queen Mother communicated the plan to Stephanie and True, Stephanie said, that's my niece and nephew. If anybody's going, I'm going. And True said, and if you going, I'm going. And then Ghost, the soldier who brought their bags to the safe house, asked, what you want me to do, boss? True took him to the side and said, what you trying to do? You trying to keep this professional, or you trying to make it personal? Ghost said, I'm trying to do whatever you trying to do. True said, I don't have time for the back and forth. Either you trying to go put in this work, or you trying to get in my pants. Which one you want to do? And like the fool that he was, Ghost said, I'm saying, shorty, can I do both? True said, no, nigga, you gotta pick and make it fast. Ghost said, I'm saying, I'm really feeling you, though. True said, say less. Go upstairs and wait for me in the second bedroom from the left. I'm gonna give you exactly what you're looking for when I get back. Then she and Stephanie headed out. Meanwhile, over at Jeff's house, Michael and Melissa are working together, but not really. When they'd pulled up, Melissa had powered her cell phone off. She told Michael to do the same. He pretended like he did, but instead, he activated the voice recorder on his cell phone. They took their time approaching the house. They were both smart enough to look for cameras, and Michael, being skilled in tech, worked out perfectly because he was able to identify a blind spot right by the back door of the house. The brother and sister duo played that blind spot right up to the house. And then Melissa displayed a skill that Michael didn't even know she had. She jimmied open the window to the cellar, slid into that little crack, got inside, unlocked the cellar door from the inside, and popped it open. Inside, they crept around slowly, checking out their surroundings. And when their eyes adjusted to the darkness in the cellar, they found Uncle Nigel slumped, tied up in a chair, and he appeared to be deceased. When Michael went to check Uncle Nigel for a pulse, Melissa said, we don't have time for that. We gotta find Aunt Maribel. Meanwhile, on the first floor in Jeff's study, Maribel knows that beyond a shadow of a doubt, Donovan is in danger, and so is she. and she got to get the hell out of Jeff's house now. She knew the minute she saw the blindfold on Donovan's eyes that he was not under Portia's command of his own free will. And when she questioned the ropes around his wrist, and Jeff said, apparently Donovan likes it wild, she also knew that every word that came out of Jeff's mouth was a damn lie. He was absolutely in on whatever this was that Portia had up her sleeve, and he was certainly the one who'd been sending her the messages. She handed him his cell phone back and said, listen, she could have him. If he like it, I love it. But if the goal was to let me see Donovan and Portia getting freaky so that I would be upset and hurt and turn to you, y'all both got me messed up. When I ended things with you, Jeff, I was ending things with you, Jeff. And it had nothing to do with Donovan. At the time, you accused me of not being over him. And I didn't confirm or deny that. The truth is I wasn't over him. But what's more important is that I wasn't ready to start something new. And if I was ready to start something new, it wouldn't have been with you. See, I try to be very clear in my dealings with others so that there's no misunderstandings or miscommunications, but I also try to be gentle and kind. I try to consider how I would want to be handled if I was the one being let down. So I try to let men down easy. My goal is to never use my words to hurt others. But I think that after all that I've been through with this situation, with you and Portia and this little game that you two have been playing, with me being attacked and having these scars to prove it, I think that it's time that I be a little clearer. I thought I was clear when you and Donovan were at that restaurant together, but I guess not. There is no hope for you and I, Jeff. There is absolutely no possibility in this life or the next that you and I will ever be an item. I am not interested in you. I understand that I consumed the maristication, and that must have made me a little horny. It must have lowered my inhibitions. And since it had been a long time, I did some things with you that I would not have done with you under any other circumstances. And not because you're a bad person or there's anything wrong with you, but I'm just not that into you, Jeff. As a matter of fact, I'm not into you at all. You actually disgust me, Jeff. I understand that there's a question about whether Andy is your father or not. I can pretty much guarantee that he's not. Because there's no way that a son of Andy's would do the things that you've done. It's much more likely that you're Andy's brother than his son. Because as I understand it, Quincy II was a piece of work. And it looks like you got it honest. Now, I'm sure that in your mind, you're probably thinking right now that this is not a smart way to play this. You're probably thinking to yourself that I should play nice if I want to make it out of here safely. But just like you are your father's son, I am my father's daughter. And I wish the hell you would. Your little friend Portia attacked me, naked, wet, and covered in soap. And she had a scalpel. And had I had 30 more seconds and a better grip, I would have snapped her damn neck. Now I'm walking out of here. And you can try me if you want to. And then Maribel turned her back on Jeff while saying, and if you care about Portia at all, you better pray that Donovan don't get loose. She looked over her shoulder and said, and if I was at all unclear, don't you ever lay another finger on me, you nasty bastard. And just as she turned her head, Jeff pounced. When he wrapped his arms around Maribel, she leaned back, wrapped her leg around his, and bent forward, preventing him from picking her up off the floor. She hopped back, swept his legs from under him, and as he began to fall back, she grabbed his free leg, pressed her hip into his knee, and sat down while pulling his leg towards her chest. The sickening crack, indicating that she had broken his knee, coupled with the loud scream that he let out, let her know that her favorite jiu-jitsu move worked perfectly. She followed that with an elbow to the nose that quickly broke his nose bone, while saying, nigga, didn't I tell you not to ever lay a finger on me again. And she hopped up, grabbed his cell phone off the desk, and made a run for the door. And despite being in excruciating pain, Jeff reached for the bottom drawer of his desk. And just as Maribel reached the door, it came flying open. Instinctively, she ducked, assuming that whoever was coming through it might very well come through it shooting. And it was a good thing she did, because on the other side was Melissa and Michael. And in Melissa's hands was the .38 special that her Uncle Donovan had put in that custom jewelry box that he sent her off to school with. The same one that she'd used to unalive the second abductor in her failed attempted kidnapping. And just as Melissa saw Maribel duck, she took the shot. When Maribel looked back at Jeff, she realized that Melissa had saved her life. Jeff had managed to pull a pistol from the bottom drawer of his desk, and he'd had it pointed at her back. Melissa entered the room, and Michael didn't. He grabbed his cell phone and called the Queen Mother. At the same time, Manny was getting a phone call from the soldiers who were outside of Jeff's house to report that they'd heard a gunshot. The Queen Mother answered the phone, and she said, "Michael, is everything all right?" Michael said, "Yes, ma'am. So, the thing is, we're inside Jeff's house, and Melissa has him at gunpoint." The Queen Mother turned to Uncle Manny and said, "Tell the soldiers to stand down." Melissa and Michael got it. Inside the room, Maribel's trying to coax Melissa into giving her the gun. Maribel said, "Melissa, baby, you can't shoot him. He knows where your Uncle D is. He's not here, and I don't know where he is, and he needs our help. So you can't shoot him, okay?" Melissa said, "I have to, Aunt Maribel. I had a dream. Just take the shot. And in the dream, just shoot me. I killed him." Maribel said, "Oh, dear God. Well, baby, I don't think you should kill him before we get him to tell us everything that he knows. His friend has your Uncle Donovan tied up right now, and we need to know where she has him. Don't kill him, Melissa." Melissa said, "Okay, but you need to check on Uncle Nigel. He's in the cellar, and it looks like he's dead." Maribel said, "Okay, Melissa, I will." "Too late. Michael, he's already gone. I need you to come and get on this laptop before it locks. I need you to see what you can find. We need to find your Uncle D." Meanwhile, Donovan is having the best dream of his life. He's back on the yacht. He just finished pleasuring Maribel, and things did not stop there. He'd been with his share of women, and he'd had his share of brain. But the brain that Maribel is giving him is out of this world. It's taking everything in him, not to blow his load. Right when he starts pulsing, she stops, and he's so glad. The whole time that they've been exploring one another, he's just been praying and asking God to forgive him and keep him from going too far. He suspects that he's already gone too far, but he doesn't want to go all the way. But unfortunately, God doesn't answer that part of the prayer, because the next thing he knows, Maribel gets on top of him and starts riding like her life depends on it. And she is clearly a skilled lover. But something is not quite right, because she's a little lighter than he'd expect. And they're not using a condom. And it's about there that he realizes that this is not a dream. Maribel just actually gave him brain, and now she is riding him like Seabiscuit. But she's lighter than he expects for her to be, and they not using a condom. And like that, he wakes up. When he does, he realizes that it's not a dream, and it certainly is not Maribel. His hands are tied, and his eyes are covered. And when he tries to free himself, he can't. And that's when he realizes that his legs are tied too. And then he starts having a panic attack. Something that he hasn't experienced since he was 17 or 18 years old. He starts thrashing around the bed. He digs in his heels, and the veracity of his thrashing throws whoever this is on top of him the hell up off of him. He realizes that was kind of unnecessary, because the panic attack deflated him like a balloon losing air. Whatever the woman's goal was, she was not going to get to it. Then he heard a woman's voice say, "Now why did you do that? It was just getting good. I want a baby, Donovan, and you're going to give me one way or another."